Welcome to Yuno and Kenzo Koga, where ancient wisdom meets modern life.
Subscribe now and join us on this journey of awakening. If this resonates, tap like and share it with someone who would appreciate a moment of peace today. And feel free to share any thoughts or reflections in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Have you ever found yourself just completely stuck in an emotion? Maybe like regret or fear, just playing it over and over.
Yeah, that feeling of being trapped in a loop.
Exactly. Well, today we're diving deep into this really fascinating idea we've come across. It suggests that maybe the way we talk about these feelings, the words we use, might actually be what's keeping us stuck.
It's a pretty counterintuitive thought, isn't it?
It really is. We're exploring this idea that maybe not naming our emotions could be, weirdly enough, the key to getting free. So, okay, let's try and unpack this.
Let's do it.
So the core concept seems to be this idea of an emotional railroad. Basically, when you label an emotion, like you say, okay, I feel regretful because X happened, it's like you're building this mental track.
That's a great way to put it. And the really interesting part is that this track, it doesn't actually lead anywhere helpful. It doesn't lead to resolution.
Right.
Thinking about it in those terms with that name, it just sort of amplifies the feeling. It keeps the whole thing going like a loop.
So the label itself feeds the loop.
Exactly.
Right.
The real problem, the thinking goes, is the raw feeling underneath it all. And that feeling isn't going to just disappear until you deal with it directly.
Okay.
And what we're finding suggests that maybe by not slapping a specific word onto it, you can actually experience the emotion in a purer way, less tangled up in stories.
Okay, but what does that actually look like? I mean, we're so used to saying, I feel sad or I feel angry.
Yeah.
How do you experience something purely without a name? How do you even start?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Imagine instead of that whole narrative like, oh, they made a fool of me, I regret that whole interaction, you just feel something.
Feel what, though?
It might just be, a physical thing, a heaviness maybe, or a tightness in your chest, or even just a kind of raw, undirected arc feeling.
Just the sensation.
Just the sensation, yeah, without the story attached. Because the idea is that those labels, those narratives, I was made a fool of, this is regret, they become the fuel that keeps that railroad going.
That makes a lot of sense. It really clicks when you think about really intense emotions.
Yeah.
Like fear, especially something like panic disorder.
Oh, absolutely. Panic disorder is often described as this incredibly deep bodily reaction. It's almost like a primal response to the fear of death itself. It's overwhelming physically and mentally.
Yeah.
But the moment that huge upheaval gets labeled, this is panic, this is the fear of death, well, there you go again. It creates its own railroad, its own specific loop.
And that naming actually blocks the resolution.
It seems so. It prevents the raw, unnamed terror from just being, felt and maybe processed.
It's kind of wild to think our instinct to categorize could get in the way of healing. And the perspective we looked at broadens us out even more, suggesting a bigger picture view can help.
Right. It introduces this broader philosophical idea, thinking about, say, the eternity of the soul, this timeless essence, and the idea that maybe all beings eventually return to some kind of nothingness or unity.
Okay. That's quite a leap.
It is. But stick with me. From that kind of perspective, our life experiences, the good stuff, the bad stuff, joy, sorrow, they're kind of like reflections in a mirror.
Reflections.
Yeah, the mirror just shows what's there. It doesn't judge it. It doesn't say this reflection is inherently good or bad. So trying to slap permanent labels of good or bad on these fleeting reflections, it's a bit like saying the whole world is rainy just because it rained for 5 minutes.
So the labels lose some of their power when you zoom out like that. It's not about endorsing a specific belief, but using the framework.
Exactly that. It provides a way to see our intense labels as maybe less absolute, less permanent.
And this connects back to personal experience too, right? The thinker behind this talked about their own struggles.
Yeah, with neurosis. And apparently the path towards getting better involved exactly this consciously not naming experiences. There's this great little anecdote about their paintings. Apparently they were, objectively speaking, pretty terrible paintings. Like, technically really bad.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, some people looked at them and praised them, said they were unique or deep or whatever.
Shows how subjective things are.
Totally. It illustrates that in this world where there oft aren't clear-cut answers, trying to definitively label things good or bad can just lead you down the wrong path. So the proposed solution, especially for really deep suffering like neurosis or panic, is to just experience the raw feeling directly. No name, no story.
So going back to that regret example, instead of "I was made a fool of,"
Yeah.
you just allow that raw, unnamed feeling, that visceral R,
Uh-huh.
and that is what actually helps dissolve the suffering cycle.
That's the core idea, yes. When you strip away the labels, the intricate stories we build around the feeling, the regret, the fear, whatever it is, it can finally just resolve.
Yeah.
Because you're not constantly feeding that railroad track with the same old thoughts and words.
Wow. Okay, so circling back then, what if the real way to unlock these intense emotions isn't more analysis, more words, but just, well, feeling them without any label at all?
It suggests that true resolution, yeah, even for something as huge as the fear of death, might only really happen when we find the courage to just experience it, unnamed.
So a final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah.
What might it look like for you the next time a difficult emotion comes up to try and just feel it without immediately reaching for a name?
Thank you for being here with us at Yuno and Kenzo Koga, where ancient wisdom meets modern life.
Subscribe now and join us on this journey of awakening. If this resonates, tap like and share it with someone who would appreciate a moment of peace today. And feel free to share any thoughts or reflections in the comments. We'd love to hear from you